Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Factions 101. I'm your host, High Top, and we got quite a lot to talk about today, so forgive me if I'm a little speedy through, some of the topics I cover. So, right off the bat, let's get into the news. First off, I mentioned last episode that there was a situation with Reaper, one of the guys in the community who got his Discord kind of token grabbed. He started nuking publics and privates, all this type of jazz. That just simply took off out since the last video. It became such a big deal. There was a lot going on, but the basis is that his account got token grabbed, as well as a lot of his other socials and accounts. I believe his Minecraft account was completely gone. He didn't have access to it, I'm pretty sure. Basically, a lot of the community started trying to figure out who this was, and it was kind of a consensus that it was a guy by the name of Riza. Now, the reason for why a lot of people thought it was him is because there was a login on his account that was from, a certain area that people, know that Riza is from. So that does make sense to add that up. However, Riza, has denied any claim of this. He's saying it's a bunch of bogus, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, it's going to be hard to pinpoint, exactly who it was without solid proof. But, I don't think it's really going to be, a black and white answer. I think a lot of people think it's Riza, and only a couple people don't think it's Riza. But, Riza has, provided, information on why it might not be him. But at the end of the day, that, was a big situation. Reaper was one of Ego's main leaders. And since then, Ego has disbanded. They're basically not a faction anymore. I don't know if they'll come back. I don't know if they'll play more. Not really sure what happened, but I know that they just stopped playing because of that whole mess. Alright, now into a map that was going on this week, MC Wars Barbaric Realm. Basically, the map was AK-47 versus Yakuza versus Yassault versus Ego. And as I previously mentioned, Ego folded and disbanded pretty damn quick in that map because of the whole Reaper situation, which is very understandable. The map basically went, how AK-47 dominated Grace. AK-47 is not a name we've heard before in this episode. Basically, there are a lot of, old guys returning, playing, and some of the old Wool guys as well. So basically, they just dominated Grace. It wasn't really close. AK-47 was on top by miles. And then once TNT enabled, Assault was basically the main, offense. And Assault is a lot of, Meathead, Cypher, IRA. It's a lot of those kids. Not one of the factions in particular. It's just a handful of, kids from each faction that were playing. Basically, Assault tried to raid AK-47 and Yakuza, first day of TNT and second day of TNT, and they just couldn't do it. It was, raiding details might not have been in their favor, but regardless, they were unable to, really put a dent into their bases. And this led to the second day of TNT. Assault, I believe, had a 2-hour attempt, and they ended up getting like 8 or 9 chunks into AK-47's base, but they basically ended up getting sided pretty damn quick after that, and that caused that raid to go to shit. Later that night, they also tried to raid Yakuza, and the whole attempt was horse shit. It was all over the place, blah blah blah, and it ended up to Assault disbanding, making the map only between Yakuza and AK-47. Shortly after that, I believe a day after, AK-47 won the map with Yakuza in second. The map ended up being a lot closer, with the Yakuza and AK-47 being close at top, but at the very end of the map, AK-47, stretched their lead and became victorious. Alright, now moving on to something a little different, I'm going to talk about the owner of MC Wars, Skid. Just a lot of stuff happened with him this past week, and I'm just going to kind of detail everything that, involved him. First of all, his name was one of the, most talked about names in the community last week, and this is because of a lot of different reasons. In the previous episode, I mentioned that he might have gotten Hell MC ULUD. He might have reported them. No one said anything, or he said he didn't do it, but, I'm not sure. Regardless, his name was brought up again when Cannon MC, which was running a map at the same time as an MC Wars, got DDoSed. Frankly, their server got DDoSed. They got, emails saying they were being attacked. Packets were being sent to them. And then Skid DMs one of the owners as this is happening, kind of right when it happens, and says, hey man, I'm trying to log on my server. Why can't I? Not a great look for him. Skid, if you're watching this, your name's already kind of ran through the mud. you're not helping yourself. Even if you weren't involved with this, dossing or whatever, why are you DMing people saying, stuff like that? It's sense of professionality that it doesn't seem like Skid quite has yet. But after this, Canon MC believed that the attacks are from Skid. It's a pretty easy 2 and 2 to connect. If you're Canon MC, Skid says it wasn't him. Going along with he hasn't really done anything. He might just be like an innocent bystander who likes to chat a little bit. Regardless, they believed it was him. Nothing else really happened. The Canon FC continued to get dossed and attacked throughout the week. So once again, just can't really figure out who it was, but they have been attacked and they think it's Skid. Skid says it wasn't him. After that, MC Wars Discord got nuked. So that is the Discord that Skid owned. Basically, Skid thinks it was Cutter, who's a previous owner at MC Wars. The whole story is that Cutter had a alt account that had perms that Skid didn't know, and Cutter used it to nuke the MC Wars Discord. Cutter says it wasn't him. There isn't really proof to go either way. So once again, it's gonna have to be one of the things you just kind of think for yourself. But all I'm saying is, Skid, dude, your name is in the news for all the wrong reasons right now. So well, hopefully you can rein it in and figure out some stuff in the future. All right, now moving on to Canon MC, which is another map that was running basically at the same time of MC Wars. It was a 3-man's map, and the map was basically between IRA, Pandillas, and Royalty/Ego. Royalty and Ego played together for a little bit. Map was kind of quiet, not too much happened. IRA won Grace. IRA out of the 3 factions, I would bet almost 99% of the time that they're going to win that battle. But basically, they won Grace. There was a couple days of TNT. Pandillas managed to snipe, I think it was like 3 or 4 chunks off of IRA with the cannon, and their cannon randomly blew as soon as IRA caught it. Now, Pandillas thinks it's staff. They provided some footage of what happened to the cannon. I know that there's a new thing with wine that makes it to where some sand comps just will blow after an X amount of shots. I don't know if that's what happened with that. It looks like it might have. They think it's staff, and they wanted the value as they were very close to breaching IRA. And, in theory, if their cannon doesn't blow up, they probably do breach. They have 3 chunks. They have full adjust. They probably would have been able to get in that base. Regardless, nothing ends up happening. Staff decide to not, act on it, which means IRA gets the win. All right, now 1.19 server, just some quick news about it. Complex MC. Haven't talked about 1.19 factions yet on this series, but, introducing it now. Basically, Smoke has been playing the last couple Complex MC maps. They've been winning the last couple MC maps, and they're playing against DQ. And basically what happened is DQ was caught duping. They had someone in their Discord who was duping, who was giving them the items. They were caught duping, and this basically just is leading Smoke on a sure way to victory. Going on to Mycadia, nothing much going on. The new map has released, a couple days ago. And there's not much going on. Randoms are still dominating. It's not really close. It doesn't really seem like there's going to be a lot of comp. Like NBC was close to them last map. It doesn't seem like, anyone's going to really pose a threat to randoms. And then moving on to PvP Labs, which has become a ultra comp map. There is a ton of factions playing that were really unexpected. I think personally I was expecting like maybe 3 decent factions to be playing. There are probably 4 factions that have a realistic shot at winning this map. You have Falcon, you have AK-47, Hydra, Meatheads, Mortis, and Glory. They're all factions who are playing with their own rosters, trying to, win, frankly. Basically, right now, F-top is really close between Meatheads and Falcon. Falcon is a bunch of old comp guys. These are a lot of the people in Falcon's roster are people who have not played the game in, years, frankly. People that, their name has not been around in the community for a very long time. A lot of these guys are old Trip members, Abzia members. I think there's some PP Gang kids in there. A lot of, just people that came back to play. Frankly, it's, good for the community and it's good for the map. I'm playing the map, as I, own Meatheads. I'm having a great time, to be honest. It's a great time, enjoying all the competition. So yeah, I'm happy to see a lot of people back from the community. F-top is neck and neck between those 2 factions, as I was saying. And then you have PvP Top, which is new on PvP Labs. And basically, it is neck and neck with Meatheads and Hydra. So Meatheads is really, putting their foot down and, going for both. They're losing both right now, but they have been able to make a pretty good rally after being down a good amount for the first couple days. But they've been able to catch up and be, neck and neck on both PP top and F top. AK-47 is slacking a little bit. They were, I honestly thought they were going to win Grace. I didn't know that Falcon was really playing, but I thought AK-47 was going to win Grace. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen, but there is still, a week left of Grace, so you never know what could end up happening. So also, just to clear up, Hydra is not actually like old Hydra. It's a lot of the Wool guys playing for PvP top. So that's who that is. The first Citadel of the map happened this past Sunday. Meatheads won it. There was no comp for it, frankly. It was kind of odd. There wasn't, too much comp. One time that people came to try and knock, they ended up fighting each other and just let Meatheads kind of, cap it without difficulty. Recently, as of, last night, actually, Hydra and Falcon have merged. This means that Hydra is just going to, feed all their value to Falcon. Hydra is going to be the faction going for PvP top, and then Falcon's going to be the faction going for F top. And so they merge. They're going to work together until the end of Grace, when they, frankly won't be able to do that anymore. All right, now moving on to the upcoming maps during this week. First off is Desecrate MC. The owner of this is the old owner of the Royalty faction, who played, I mentioned their name earlier on, Cannoning MC. They used to play Carnage. I think they played a little bit of Labs. It's left, right, center. He's the owner. This server releases May 6th, which is, I believe, this Friday, might be Saturday, but it's May 6th, 3 p.m. EST. The details are 3-mans, 3-second cannoning, 15 chunk buffer, 20-hour shields. The map is going to be 2 days of Grace, 3 days of TNT, Dark Zone, R-Post, and Kane Eco with a $150 payout. And they also have some payouts for Mob Top and Kane Top. So, Desecrate seems like a pretty decent server, so check that out on May 6th. And then you also have, PP Labs running now and Cadia running now as well. Just to mention, if you want your server talked about, how I just talked about Desecrate MC, make a ticket in our Discord and we can see if we can figure something out for you. Alright, now moving on to the power rankings. I'm just going to go on and say that there has been some shifts. There has been some shifts in the power rankings since last week. First off, I'm going to talk about the floaters. Pandillas are still in there. They were floaters last week. Still going to keep them in there. Just don't think they're quite, over that edge to break into the top 5 yet. But, they're showing good signs. They're placing on a lot of maps. They're being competitive in a lot of maps. It just is, they're going to have to wait for the perfect opportune moment and then take advantage of that. I also got Smoke in the floaters. Smoke has been dominating Complex MC for the past, I think, like 2 months. Something like that. It looks like they're going to win this map too. So I put Smoke there. They're a pretty decent faction for 1.19, and they deserve some credit for what they've been able to do. Now for the top 5, which I think is going to be ultra controversial. So just, be prepared. At number 5, I have IRA, which, I think a lot of people are going to be up and at 'em about. IRA number 5. Listen, IRA is primarily a 3-mans and under faction. I don't see IRA playing any other map that's higher. So, it's a lot of the comp right now is on 5-mans plus. And so IRA, is very good. I would bet on them against any other faction on a 3-mans or less map. But I got to give credit to the people who have more members, who, it's more difficult to, put together a roster of higher, of more members than it is a smaller one. So I got to give credit to the other people, which at number 4 is Yakuza. So Yakuza have been they haven't really won anything recently, but they've been, second and first in Grace and during TNT. And they would have won Hell MC if it wasn't for Cypher raiding them. Basically, Yakuza is, just a decent faction. They're always competing with things. I'm going to put them at number 4 because the people they lose to are frankly just good. Like, they're frankly just good. They lost to Cypher on Hell MC a week ago or so, and then they lost to AK-47 this week. I mean, those are 2 decent factions. So I'm just going to keep Yakuza at 4, IRA at 5, because I believe Yakuza, it's harder to get a, higher man's roster. Going in at number 3, might be a shock to a lot of people. I'm putting Meatheads at number 3. Basically, the reason I'm doing this is because there were a handful of Meatheads members who played with Assault in this past MC Wars, and frankly, they lost. It's not Meatheads roster, so you can't really say that, Meatheads lost the map. But there are a lot of the members who played, and I'm going to take that into consideration on the power rankings. And so I'm going to put Meatheads at number 3, which means number 2 is AK-47, a new entry to the power rankings. AK-47, their first map playing MC Wars, dominated. They dominated Grace. They dominated TNT. They were looking great. And, originally, this is what my, stuff was always going to be. But as PvP Labs has unfolded, Meatheads is way ahead of AK-47. So I thought about putting Meatheads back at number 2, but I'm going to give AK-47 credit for what they were able to do last week on MC Wars. And there's still plenty of time in Grace and PvP Labs, and you have all of TNT. You never know what could happen. But I'm putting AK-47 at the number 2 spot, as they are simply just, seem to be a really decent competitive faction. And then at number 1, no surprise, been the same for the past 2 weeks, Randoms. I thought about giving AK-47 the spot, but since they are down on Labs, I'm going to keep AK-47 at 2 and Randoms at number 1. Randoms got another map win, finished off that map against NPC this past week. They're dominating KDO once again. I don't know if, they're really going to be taken off their throne anytime soon. But, no surprise there. Randoms at number 1. Not too much to talk about. And so I'm going to move into the MVP of the week. The MVP of the week is Vape Kohler. All right, so Vape Kohler played MC Wars with Yakuza, and over 3 days of TNT, he had 100,000 blocks placed, which, considering he was only attempted for like an hour or an hour and a half each day, that's a fucking lot. That's a lot. So he placed over 100,000 blocks in 3 days. It simply was one of the reasons that, Yakuza was never breached. No one got further than 10 chunks in 3 days of shooting, and he was on for every attempt. He was patching for every attempt. So I'm going to give the MVP of the week to Vape Kohler. And then an honorable mention, I haven't done this in the last episode, but an honorable mention to the Anti-Pew Pew Squad, which is from Randoms. It consists of Hood Turtle and I probably said that wrong, but Heyyai. Giving the honorable mention to them for locking down buffers and walls for Randoms. Everybody knows Hood Turtle is one of the, no disrespect, but one of the craziest wall and buffer slaves in the community. He simply just locks it down. And so, I'm going to make an honorable mention to the Anti-Pew Pew Squad. And then moving on to Clown of the Week. Basically, funny thing happened. A manager of Lotus MC, Tyler, with period as name. It's not, Tyler from the competitive scene. Basically, he accidentally leaked some IPs and, some names, some IRL names from Tebex during a screen share. He also TP'd the entire server to someone's cane farm, trying to fix a TP for, someone else. So, a little bit of a Clown of the Week moment. Hopefully, all those IPs and names are, sorted, or else we're going to have to talk about it more next week. Regardless, just going to throw them in there for Clown of the Week. Kind of a funny moment there. But yeah, if you got any news, if you, want anything to be talked about in next week's episode, make a ticket in the Discord down below for Factions 101. Put your power rankings of the top 5 factions currently out in the comments, and tell me what you would do with those. And that's going to be it for this week. I will see y'all next week for the next episode of Factions 101.